am planning on renovating my brand new house once the build is completed, and today I thought we could talk about it. Welcome back to another update in my home build series. I'm building my first home all by myself, which is really exciting, and I'm documenting it because there have been so many things along the way that have just really taken me by surprise and made the process feel a lot harder than I feel like it needs to be. Hopefully by sharing my journey a little bit, it can help anybody else who wants to do the same thing, demystify the process a little bit and just help you feel more confident. I think my last video was a breakdown of everything that I have spent on this build so far. And if you've watched that, you would know that I am almost $20,000 over budget. It physically pains me to say that out loud. Now, I'm obviously not stressed, I can afford it. What that does mean though is at my pre-build appointments for electrical and color and all those sorts of things is I made a lot of compromises, a lot of concessions purely to keep the cost as low as I could. I know it doesn't sound like it with a $20,000 blowout, but I did. Because of that, I have a nice long list of things that I plan on upgrading at some point post-build, and that's what I want to talk about today. Thankfully nowadays there are so many companies and brands that exist to make self-renovation as accessible as possible. That's definitely what I plan on leaning on, especially for a couple of the bigger projects. I mentioned this in my lifestyle video, which I'll also link down below, but one of the biggest things is I did not make any changes to our laundry, with the exception of putting in the nice sink that matches our kitchen sink. It will look hilarious because it will be on the builder grade trough. There's no cupboards, there's no nothing in there. It will literally just be a sink on a trough and that's it. Definitely something that I will be looking to change as soon as I'm able to. I have kind of an idea in my mind of what I want: overhead cabinetry, like a bench top that will run over my washer dryer that I have yet to purchase, but hopefully at some point we'll be able to. Just things that will utilize the existing wall space and also make it a lot more functional for day to day. I've seen great options from Bunnings and also IKEA, so I'm gonna have a look into what that looks like, and hopefully I will be able to install it myself or with the help of some friends. Similarly, I will be wanting to upgrade our closets, both in the master and in all of the bedrooms. We have the stock standard builder grade going in, which I think is just a rail and maybe a shelf up the top. This was actually something that I wanted to change. They wouldn't let me, which was so annoying because it's something that I would have tried to juggle into the budget if I could, particularly in all of the smaller bedrooms, because I actually didn't want them to be sliding doors. I wanted them to be hinged doors. Oh my god, I forgot what the word hinged was for a second. They wouldn't let me do that. I had to have sliding doors put in. So I don't know how hard that's going to be. That's probably a lower priority than just fitting out particularly the master closet to make it more functional. Probably going to do an IKEA PAX if they have all of the things that work, but I will look into other options as well. I just want something where I can have shelves, drawers, rails, whatever. Our current closet is maybe one step up from builder grade because we do have some shelves in there, and even that I find really annoying and non-functional. We've done our best to make it more usable by adding like extra hanging rails and stuff, but for day-to-day usability, it's something that I hope I can afford to tackle kind of early on. In my floor plan, there's what's called a key drop space. It's basically a little alcove into the wall where you could fit a desk or a table. I ideally want to install just a floating bench space. I think it would look really nice to just match the stone of the kitchen, have it be floating, and then it can either function as an additional desk space if it's needed by rolling a chair over, or just act as like a built-in key station. Not the highest priority, but also hopefully something that won't be too complicated. Although now I'm thinking out loud, I might want to add a drawer underneath. I feel like that would be really practical. Maybe something like this. Probably something that I would need to get a professional out for if I'm thinking about installing stone though. So I imagine that might be quite costly, but also visually and practically as well probably would be really good. Oh, this is a big one. I want to change all of the handles, hinges, everything throughout the house. I got just the stock standard cheapest option that they had. I want to upgrade everything to brass. I have since learned that that will be a very costly exercise. I did not realize how much those things could cost, especially when you factor in how many freaking hinges you need for all of the doors and how many doors there are in the house. It's a little bit nuts. I do think that's something that I will want to invest a little bit more in because they're very much a functional item. You use your door handles all the time, and I've seen some stories on Instagram and stuff of people who have gotten cheaper materials that have then flaked or gotten ruined and they've had to replace them. I think this might be one of those situations where it's better to buy it nice than buy it twice. In terms of the list of priorities, door handles is certainly not up there. Like if it's a silver door handle, it's a silver door handle. Does it really matter? I'd love to put in something like this though, aesthetically gorgeous. Probably a little bit down the track. Probably the space that is lowest in terms of my priority list, but is something that I think once we eventually get around to it will be really impactful, is the garage. I want to epoxy the floor just to make it feel a little bit more comfortable on the feet. We use the garage for so much storage at our house. We're in and out of there all the time, and I just would rather it feel a little bit more like an indoor space. Big thing I want to do is put in floor to ceiling built-in cabinetry. I know that this will be a very costly exercise, especially because it will likely have to be something that's done by a cabinet maker rather than using a pre-existing like an IKEA PAX or something, but I think it will be so worth it. Because of all the storage that we have in our garage, stuff, we have it all in boxes, but it gets dusty. It's not the most practical to get in and out of. I think just having custom cabinetry that's sized the way that we want it would be such a game changer. In particular, very on brand for me, I'm thinking about like our Christmas storage space. I would love to have a cabinet that is set up to store our Christmas tree, so it just, the tree goes in there, it stays there all year, it's really easy to get out when you need it. Shelves so that I can get to boxes rather than having them stacked on top of each other. We do have big metal shelving racks from Bunnings, which is why this is so a low priority job. As much as they're practical, I think they don't prevent like dust, dirt, my least favorite thing, spiders. They're also all one height, so we don't get to utilize the space as much as I would like to, and there's a lot of dead space between the top of the shelves and the ceiling that I just would like to make the most of. Sorry, I just kicked the camera, but I was saying, I think because I'm building a smaller house on a smaller block, it is going to be really critical for me to utilize vertical space as much as possible to make the most of what I do have. I do also think that that will be something that will add resale value when I do eventually sell the house one day. And lastly, I don't know where this one sits in terms of the plans, but I have spoken before about the fact that I will be wanting to change some of the tiling out in my wet spaces. I want to do the backsplash, which I'm actually hoping that I will just be able to tile over the existing backsplash straight away. That way I don't damage anything that's already there, but also can do it quickly and easily without too much effort. TBC if that is an option, but in the wet spaces like the bathroom, I really want to change some of the tiles over to tiles that were not available through my builder. It's a whole thing. I spoke about it in my color appointment video. If you haven't watched that one, it's really frustrating. My builder would not use external brands of tiles. If I want to use anything that was not theirs, I will have to remove it and reinstall it, which is really frustrating because it's double handling. Someone also reached out to me and said, be really conscious of the fact that you really should give it a year before you make any of those kinds of changes, because if I was to rip tiles out, it would void the warranty. She was saying basically it's a good idea to live in your house for a year so you can experience all of the different seasons, the different climates, how your house operates, so to speak, in summer might be very different from winter. And I know that to be true because the house that we're renting, we lived in it for nearly a year before the roof started leaking. Literally, I woke up Christmas morning one day and water was just like pissing down the wall. It was horrendous. And so I obviously don't want to be caught out with that with my own build. That being said, I do want the fun, pretty nice tiles, but I mean, a year isn't that long in the scheme of things. Maybe I just need to exercise a little bit of patience. Not that that's a virtue that I really possess. That is the one kind of reno upgrade change that I'm still very much rolling around a little bit on and trying to figure out what that plan looks like. I feel like that's not something I'm really going to think about too much until we're actually in the house anyway, but it is definitely something that will be in the back of my mind. And then of course, front and back landscaping. I really want to turn the backyard space into an entertaining area. I'd love to have a mini built-in kind of outdoor kitchen of some sort, but that is again very, very low on the priority list. That's like the dream plan. Definitely not something I think I'll be achieving anytime soon, but it's fun to like think about and plan knowing that I'll own the house and I can do whatever I want to it. That's kind of crazy coming from someone who's rented for the past decade plus. Anyway, that's all of my current plans. If you have done any of those things in your own home, I would love to hear about it, how it went, how you chose, like what you chose. Did you do it yourself? Did you hire somebody in? I have so many questions and thoughts. So if anybody can share some insight, I would love, love, love to hear. As always, if you've got questions or things you want to see, leave them in the comments. I've linked all of those videos that I mentioned because I know I mentioned a bunch in the description bar, along with my socials. I'm also doing very frequent updates on like my TikTok and my Instagram, so check out those if you haven't. But thank you so, so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and I will see you next time. Bye.